One of the things I'm learning, Shelley, when it comes to speaking one-on-one or from a stage is a lot of the communication happens in the nonverbals, body
Mhm.
languages, pauses, things like that. So when somebody's on stage and they're trying to establish presence, whatever you want to call it, what are some of the most important nonverbals they should be cognizant of when communicating?
I'm going to go back to the storytelling piece. When we share our stories, our journey, things that have really happened to us, you asked me to share this moment about, when something, I failed at a speech and something went terribly wrong. I could recount that story, and I have told it before. I tell it in slightly different ways from different, words, but it's the same moment. I didn't have to memorize it. I didn't have to set it up. I could just reflect on that piece. And when we as humans share stories naturally, even in conversations with friends, or you're talking to a colleague about a project you worked on, the emotion, the hand gestures, the pacing comes naturally. And I've worked this time and time again with clients. The less technical cues you have to worry about. Raise your voice on that sentence. Be sure to emphasize this word. The less of those cues you have to memorize, the easier it's going to be for you to just share your experience. And the inflection and the pacing will happen naturally. It does every single time. You may even hear it in my speaking here today.
A lot of our listeners are small business owners. They're in the home services, or maybe they have an online business, maybe they're an e-commerce business. And a lot of the issues that come up in their business aren't necessarily inventory related or even fulfillment. It's miscommunications that happen between the team members. And I know that you have a framework for it. So maybe if you could tell us about the remarkable framework in the context of this audience.
Oh, I'd love to share it. And it's so true. Coming up with the framework came out of my own challenges with communicating with a team. I was on a marketing team. I was the director of marketing for a company for a long time. And there was a book I read in 2016 called Sprint by two guys from Google, Jake Knapp and John Zaratsky. And the book was basically about creating sprints that go from problems to prototypes in 5 days, because they realized this was taking months and months to create. So they shortened the process. So I thought about that book and I applied it to my team. And literally, we used the same principles of setting these short sprints. We met for 5 days, about 15 to 20 minutes a day, and we identified what our problems were till the end of the week, till we had a campaign. It saved so much back and forth time of, writing, creating, and coming back, that we actually had a single focused idea that we were able to replicate and create new ideas around. But staying on message came back to that one simple principle. So I took that framework at a time where I was coaching a group, a sales team from a cosmetic company, and they were selling, and they would give me their sales pitches, and it went on and on and on. And I, after 5 minutes, had no idea what they were even selling. I applied the sprint concept, but I did it in a slightly different way. And what we did was reduced their speaking time to 30 seconds to tell me what it is you want your audience to know and why it's important to you. And every single person within seconds was able to deliver it effectively, concisely, to the point, and brilliant ways of saying it that they couldn't have possibly written. And from that moment on, I knew I had something, and I developed the remarkable framework on those series of sprints. So in 4 minutes, you can identify what it is you want your audience to know and why it's important. So if you did that, or my clients do that now, before they go into a meeting, you're going in there with everybody knows exactly why they're there. You're breaking the gap between all the craziness in their day and bringing them right into focus. And you're leaving everybody with an actionable deliverable so that that meeting, there's no question why you're there and why it's important.
That is a powerful framework, and I think later on we're going to talk a little bit more about how they can learn more about that. And that's a good what to do. Let's talk about a what not to do. What's the biggest mistake, the biggest messaging mistake you see smart leaders make when the stakes are high?
They talk about what they do, all the features, all the benefits, their whole resume. They list out projects and they don't get human. There's not a story behind it. Now I could sit here and say, I learned to speak. I learned to be a good communicator and I learned to be confident on screen. That's what I mean versus me saying, I'm a social butterfly and I got on stage and I blanked out. When I go into my personal story, perhaps it brings you in. Perhaps there's a moment you could say, oh gosh, I remember a time when I blanked out or got nervous. That humanness, that storytelling piece is what executives feel they can't bring into that conversation. But I would challenge them, all of you, on this. Every single thing about your business is built on emotion. You're losing money? That's emotional. You're making money? That's emotional. You win the client? That's emotional. You lose a client after 20 years? It's all emotional. So being emotional and sharing a story is expressing how you feel about it. It's so unfortunate we lost this customer. You don't have to be crying on the floor hysterics. That's not emotion. It's just being expressive and saying, I'm disappointed. I'm upset. And that humanness over the features and benefits is the biggest mistake I see leaders using today or not using today.
I'm trying to think through this to an example that I might use in my business. For instance, so I run a marketing agency and we work with clients that have nationwide or worldwide online businesses. They get leads or they sell products. And let's say a lead comes in is somewhat interested, and I need to talk to them on a sales call and get them to sign up with us. So, based on what you've said today, I kind of want to get coached in this in this demo
Great.
sales call, right? So what should I think about in preparing for it? Like, what are my top 3 things that I need to make sure I touch on?
Well, for starters, let me back up. I'm happy to coach you right now. Is there a particular product you're selling for real? A client you need to talk.
Yes, paid ads and data analytics and forensics.
Great. So what's the key thing you want? What's the one big idea you want them to know? So
I
one thing
want
you
them
want,
to
yeah,
I want them to know that I can use math and data to significantly increase their revenue with minimal risk.
okay, that's a whole lot of information. What's the one thing that does? Saves time, saves money. It's a low risk investment to gain business. What short
what's
words?
the what's the one thing that my service does for the prospect?
Yeah,
It makes them money.
there you go. That sounds pretty intriguing versus, well, we have systems, we have, right? You follow where I'm going? So we help
Yes,
you make
yes.
money. So now the next step is that's the focus. That's the first thing. The main idea is we're here to help you make money. For example, what's an example of that? A real life client that in few words used your
A
product.
real life client that had an already successful offer using one traffic source, in this case, Facebook ads. And we came in and used YouTube and Google ads to nearly double their revenues simply because we were able to add a new traffic source where other agencies couldn't.
There you go. So let's start from the top. Here's what I want you to know. I'm here to save you money. For example, tell me about that client. And then I want you to end with, and I'm telling you this because, what's the value driven in there?
And I'm
Just
telling you this because I'm
start from
telling
the
you
top.
start from the top. Okay. Hello, prospect. I'm here to make you money. For example, we doubled the revenues by adding a traffic source other agencies couldn't. And I'm telling you this because,
What do you care
I'm
about?
telling you, what do I care about? Because this could be a mutually beneficial arrangement where we can both win on this, and there's lots of examples of how this worked before. I don't know. Help me, coach.
Great. So let's start with, here's what I want you to know. I'm in the money-making business. Just repeat that. Here's what I want you to know. I'm in the money-making business.
Here's what I want you to know. I'm in the money-making business.
For example, now tell me about that client. I had a client.
For example, there was a business that was making X dollars in revenue using Facebook ads, and we helped make it 2X in revenue by simply adding Google and YouTube ads as their next best traffic source.
And I'm telling you this because no one else.
And I'm telling you this because no one else.
Tell me why. No one else has done this? Right? Isn't that what you shared?
And I'm telling you this because time and time again, we find that we can do what no one else has been able to do in marketing.
Just think of that little capsule. Now I'm going to ask Chris what he thinks from the first version to this kind of last one that could probably use a little more massaging. But overall, what is the difference between the way it was pitched originally and this last iteration?
Originally, obviously there was more words and it wasn't as crystal clear. Where in the last version, there was more clarity and more confidence, which then transfers confidence to me because this person clearly knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I could feel it even differently coming out. And it does need a little bit more polishing, but I could feel the difference in the energy I have in saying it. And it's so much more clear. And I know it's more clear. And we can get to the details later, but we got to get to the meat first.
Dimitri, that is exactly right. And something you said that I absolutely loved is the feeling. And folks, this is what marketing, this is what life is all about. This is what speaking is all about. This is what human connection is all about. Any business, it's feeling. It's feeling. And when you feel it and you believe it, the person on the other end of the phone or the other end of the Zoom or the other end of your handshake is going to feel that too. If you are just saying words and not connecting emotionally to it with a feeling, you can't expect everybody else to champion the idea with you. But also you got in, I loved how Chris pointed out, you sounded more confident, you used less words. And that goes back to your point, Dimitri. We have seconds to captivate somebody's interest. What will do it better than an opening sequence of a story of a failing client that you saved? And you're right. When I'm connected, now we could talk about, really? How did you do that? Tell me about the system.
So good, right? It's marketing. The speech is marketing. It's get the attention, get them intrigued, have a vision and a belief of what could be, and then we'll get to the details after that.
Great news. The conversation continues. When you subscribe, like, and ring the bell, you'll know when a new episode has released. As always, speak remarkably.